I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. The headlines. 42-year-old physically challenged man of KANYAMA compound in need of financial support. By-elections a necessary evil to advancing democracy, charges gears. 9 new cholera cases detected as 2,131 people vaccinated with oral cholera vaccine. And in international news, Kenya warns oil marketers against reduced imports, and Consortium withdraws offer to buy Chelsea. That's in sports. Join me with the details after this commercial. And now the main news in detail. A 42-year-old physically challenged man who has a bedridden wife with a face of poverty written all over has appealed to well-wishers to help boost his business. Friday Chilembo, a man whose disability is as a result of a car accident encountered in 2018, has told Camnet News that taking care of his bedridden wife in his current condition has been challenging. Mr. Chilembo, who barely makes ends meet through making floor mats with recycled plastic, says his business has the potential to excel, but he does not have enough resources to boost it. Camnet TV Friday morning visited the home of Mr. Chilembo.
Bedridden for 5 years now, this is the condition of a Lusaka woman who depends on a 42-year-old physically challenged husband for survival, whose condition was as a result of a car accident which occurred in 2018. Camnet TV visited the home of Friday Chilembo in Lusaka's KANYAMA compound to appreciate the poverty levels and how Mr. Chilembo has been sustaining himself and his bedridden wife. Mr. Chilembo has further explained that his wife is unable to walk or do any other activity except being in bed. He says despite having been taking her to the hospital in the last 5 years, the hospital has been unable to clearly state what might be the problem with his wife.
Hospital mabateka muno mu hospital utwasenda olwele umbi fibaranda swata just take him to the home uzwayangani so ndime tumayanganira nimamkola kuti tumaenda kutenga but kulibe treatment amitaona po kuti muntu yachinja kulibe ngala upeza ukangiwa ku clinic na kwa gano waenda kulibe zanchipani.
Refusing to give up on life, Mr. Chilembo had to learn how to make floor mats as a way of making ends meet. He is, however, unable to meet demand due to lack of resources to buy raw materials and has since appealed to government and well-wishers to help him with proper capital to help boost his business.
Nodwala so ni magalizo yangu nataka kulenga chitego vochita vichita azanga anipesa kwa nchito na chitego vochita but kupesa ti material nilibe capital nilibe so simbacho ni kuza kuti nikazi mu balance na ninapesa kani wale mara futi kapesa max data tisinga nenzeko na mimi ngatandiza kuti ni moyo wa mzanga so hapa kulibe anga na mzake pema chakulika pena boma ingatandizeko munjira muri mose mamene ngakwanisire.
Mr. Chilembo and his wife have been blessed with 4 children, and that one of the children has been the one taking care of his wife while he is away.
Wamina mwana mwanganira madam wanga ni mwana ana 25 years. Uzapeza kuti na hivi ashashi chikanga kuti popeza vakutandizo palibe. So mendo tsakira aenda oda tuma veggie aronga ma plastic amapitisamo. Akapitisamo apizao kakoini ndiye kubwera manja kubwera kutwa kudya tumanzi tuchani ndiye mwe ili tandizo mwe naona kuti akulibe kame zakwanisa ine. So ntemba kuti boma ingachite bwanji nganyangane ko maybe wechita babenga kwanisa mapali mpavu za sira.
His wish is also to see his 25-year-old daughter, who at the time Camnet visited his home had gone on the street to sell vegetables, get a stable job which will enable the family have some resources. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Operation Young Vote has advised the Electoral Commission of Zambia to investigate what led to voter apathy in the just-ended by-elections at local government level. Organization Executive Director Ges Nyirenda says the areas that recorded low turnout have been perceived to have been United Party for National Development stronghold, a situation he says calls for answers. Mr. Nyirenda says if people begin to shun away from participating in the electoral processes, it will compromise the quality of leadership being elected to certain positions. And Mr. Nyirenda says the number of by-elections held in the last 8 months is very worrisome as they are diverting resources from other developmental sectors.
The just-ended by-elections in Zambia in 3 different provinces has seen a low voter turnout barely 8 months after the country held its general elections that saw a huge vote turnout. The country on Thursday, 14th April 2022, held mayoral by-elections in Mongu district of Western Province and 2 local government ward by-elections in Lututu ward of Luwingu town in Northern Province and Katimba ward of Monze Southern Province. Despite the United Party for National Development having scooped all the 3 by-elections, voter apathy was experienced in all the 3 areas, a situation that has been attributed to lack of voter sensitization. However, Operation Young Vote Executive Director Ges Nyirenda has challenged the government and the Electoral Commission of Zambia (ECZ) to ascertain what might have led to a voter apathy barely 8 months after the country held its general elections.
You know, in some areas, those are areas that are strongholds for the UPND. What is happening are people already saying no to UPND, or are people fatigued? What is really the problem? And I think it would be very important that the ruling party, especially government and the ECZ, delves into this matter to ascertain what the problem really is, because if people are giving up so quickly and so easily, then we'll have a problem going forward in terms of the electoral process.
Mr. Nyirenda has also wondered why the country has in the last 8 months held close to 10 by-elections when some of the by-elections could have been avoided.
We appreciate, yes, that there's nothing we can do when a by-election is caused by the demise of an area leader, whether it's a member of parliament, a councillor, or a chairperson, council chairperson, or a mayor, or anyone. That one we have really no problem and no control. But I think those by-elections that are caused by resignations, I think they are unacceptable. But also even the by-elections that are being caused by either nullification of people's seats, they are also quite concerning, because
it has since called to an end in by-election even as the country looks to constitutional reforms.
If, for example, a by-election is caused by the nullification of a seat of someone who is purported to have committed malpractices, then I think the best is to find a way of having the person that came out second, and if they are also not mad in the same malpractices or similar malpractices. Let them take over, because then that it means that the people favored that person, but because of the malpractices that the person who came out first committed, then they were jeopardized in terms of winning. So I think we must find a way as a country, even as we do the legal and constitutional reforms.
By-elections are a drain to coffers of any government, thereby depriving development to important sectors. Therefore, laws in Zambia need to be amended to ensure that by-elections do not become a daily occurrence. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The United Party for National Development has scooped the Katimba Ward local government by-election in Monze district of Southern Province with a landslide. Brian Chingula of the UPND got 1,458 votes, followed by DP candidate Hakoba Guide, who poured 106 votes, while the Leadership Movement candidate Brian Mwemba got 47 votes, with the last being Patriotic Front candidate Frintz Muhuna, who got 13 votes respectively. Only 1,656 people turned out to cast their votes out of 2,690, the total number of registered voters in Katimba Ward, and 5 votes were rejected. Returning officer Sidney Hamua declared Brian Chingula the duly elected councillor of Katimba Ward at 23 hours Thursday. And speaking after the declaration of results, UPND campaign manager Vongo Hamatondo described the victory as an endorsement of continued peace, development and harmony in the country. Meanwhile, newly elected councillor Brian Chingula thanked the people of Katimba Ward for entrusting him with the task to help take development to them. He promised not to disappoint on his developmental promises now that the people have spoken through the ballot.
First time seeing, a good number of ministers, a good number of, DCs, different, government officials coming just for a by-election, which is here in Katimba, where network is not there. There was a lot of resources that the government have so far used, which is not supposed to be like that. If they could have just sent 1 or 2 people, that shows to say there is pressure. Leadership movement, people have accepted it. That's the reason why the whole, almost all the vehicles from town were here, just to come and try to negotiate with the people that they should vote back to UPND, because we've made sure that those who were supporting them are now with us. Since now that we have seen to say they want to use in a lot of money just for a small by-election like this one, we are going to condemn that. I am personal as a provincial chairperson condemning the resources, the national resources that has been used, which is a high amount of money that they use. We saw a lot of vehicles, from State House, from Choma, from where, 2 helicopters for a by-election. Let's hope that they came for another thing, not only for the by-election, 2 helicopters. How much is that?
Meanwhile, GEARS Initiative Executive Director McDonald Jipenzi says the by-elections held on the 14th of April 2022 in Western and Southern provinces have demonstrated that political parties can still hold elections in a peaceful manner. He says this is commendable and a good recipe for democracy. Mr. Jipenzi says by-elections, though costly, are necessary in enhancing democracy, commending all participating political parties for exhibiting peace before, during and after the elections.
This is what we want to see in our democracy. This is the democracy we are looking for, the electoral democracy we are looking for, not of fists but of issues. We've seen that despite the unpopular decisions where fuel were being increased during the campaigns, still people had to vote for that political party. And it's very clear for any future political party that it's not about what you promise people. It's not about popularism. It is about how people feel when you talk to them, when you explain to them, and then they vote for you. We've seen that even DMMU, was not as prominently in those areas as it were before, where we could see open bribery, open vote buying during elections. So we want to commend all political parties that took place. We want to commend those who have lost, those who have won, for making our electoral democracy work. And this is why we always contend that in as much as by-elections are being condemned, they are a necessary evil in our electoral democracy, and that's how we nurture our democracy, our electoral democracy. We are able to know which political party is gaining ground, which political party is declining in terms of support, and which political parties have continued to retain the support of the Zambian people.
In other news, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy founder, member and faction leader Gaston Sichilima says it is illegal for Nevus Mumba to go round the country to solicit for signatures, petitioning that the MMD joins the ruling United Party for National Development. Mr. Sichilima notes that the tours Dr. Mumba and his team have traveled to Kabwe, Chinsali, Kasama, Mansa, Kitwe and Solwezi, misleading MMD members in the provinces to sign a petition that would make MMD join UPND. And MMD faction leader notes that currently there are still court proceedings of contempt and challenging of an alleged illegal convention under clause number 2021 HB 0305, which makes Dr. Mumba wrong in all his decisions to lead the party. Meanwhile, efforts to get a comment from Dr. Mumba could not materialize by broadcast time.
The other two purported senior NEC members went in the above outlined places, correcting signatures with intention to take MMD members to go to join UPND in a bid to get an appointment from the new Dawn government, and in most areas, quorums were not even formed as required by the party constitution. Now my question is, who will receive these petitions when the purported president, together with his vice president, administration and the national secretary, are the ones correcting the signatures from provinces, when it is supposed to be the province petitioning the NEC through the office of the national secretary? In this regard, the founder members of MMD, drawn from all 10 provinces, took an action against Elizabeth Chitika in Lusaka High Court of Zambia, sued in her capacity as MMD national secretary, and Dr. Nevus Mumba under the cause number 2021/HP/0305, wherein the convention which elected the purported current leadership of MMD is being challenged.
Zambia has been hit by cholera outbreak with a cumulative number of 9 people being hit by the disease. Health Minister Siuva Masebo announced this development Friday, where she revealed that 4 of the 9 cases spread across some areas in Lusaka have been classified as cholera, while others are still being tested. Ms. Masebo says rapid response teams from the Zambia National Public Health Institute, the Lusaka Provincial and District Health Officers of Lusaka and Chilanga are conducting a robust response to ensure that it does not spread to uncontrollable levels. She says the response includes active cases search, disinfection of houses and surroundings, distribution of chlorine, water quality monitoring and health education. The minister has since encouraged people to drink clean water and observe high levels of hygiene. Meanwhile, Zambia has in the last 24 hours recorded the COVID-19 associated death with 1,019 active cases across the country, 7 new admissions, and discharged a total of 138 patients from both home and facility management.
By yet another outbreak the cholera outbreak, affecting a cumulative 9 people from Mutendere East, accounting for 4, Chilanga Middle West, accounting for 3, Kabangwe, accounting for 1, and Matero, accounting for 1. 4 of the 9 cases have been confirmed for cholera by culture. Other results are pending. 2 of the patients have recovered and have been discharged. Our rapid response teams from Zambia National Public Health Institute, the Lusaka Provincial and District Health Offices, and Chilanga are conducting a robust response. This includes active case search, disinfections of houses and surroundings, distribution of chlorine, water quality monitoring, and health education. We have also vaccinated 2,131 people with oral cholera vaccine in the hotspots. This is the first outbreak in Lusaka. I must remind you all that the 2017 and 2018 outbreak started in Lusaka. After that, it further spread to other parts of the country, largely due to movement of people. We must therefore work together to halt the transmission of cholera. I take note we're in the
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
Has so much data.
Mom.
Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow! Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy: agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda. Trade and logistics made easy.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the rest of the news. The Social and Economic Empowerment for Development (SEED) says information gaps have been contributing to the failure of most businesses in the country. Seed Managing Director Simeon Kampata, who appeared on the Camnet Breakfast Show Friday, says businesses cannot thrive if the business owners do not have the right skills and knowledge in the areas of interest. Mr. Kampata says businesses at times do not need a lot of capital for them to kickstart, but that knowledge on how to run the business will enable one find the right financing for their business. He says cooperatives in Zambia, if well managed, have the potential to create employment for the local people.
Surprisingly enough, someone will tell you, I want to start a business, but I don't know where to get the money. How can you thrive in a business if you cannot manage to do a business with the smallest amount of money that you have? I think that we are missing it. As a nation, I think our message is this, as Seed Cooperative Union. Let us start using this model with what we have, with the knowledge that is going to come, and from there onwards, then as government come, then they will be able to find us somewhere. And in fact, if you see, is it the role of government to be giving money to all the citizens of Zambia? No, certainly not. The role of government is to provide services. Services that are going to make people flourish in their agriculture, settings. This notion that we have, thinking and waiting for government to come and give us something for us to start businesses, it's not going to help us. How many are we in our country? I think what is important, if it is possible for us as Seed, we are saying, before government gives any support to a cooperative, that cooperative should be able to demonstrate that they are able to run a business. Secondly, instead of giving money to a person who does not know and they have no record, on financial management, how they are going to make use of this money. If a cooperative wants a machinery, a peanut butter production machinery, instead of giving this cooperative money, why don't they go and procure that machinery and give it to this cooperative in order for them to start production?
3 juvenile girls of the same house have died in Luampa district of Western Province after drowning in Luampa River on Thursday afternoon. Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga has named the 3 victims as 17-year-old Namasiku Batista, 14-year-old Shampangu Nasilele, and 9-year-old Sibupiwa Batista. Mr. Hamonga says brief facts are that the 2 younger girls knocked off from Kaumbu Primary School on the fateful day and proceeded to meet their 17-year-old sister, where she used to work as a maid. He says on their way home, the two young ones decided to stop by and swim in the deep water of Luampa River, where they fell to swim and drowned. Mr. Amonga says the elder sister, in trying to save the younger girls, jumped into the deep waters, but unfortunately she drowned too. The 3 bodies have been retrieved from the river and deposited in Luampa Mission Hospital mortuary, awaiting post-mortem and burial. Southern Province Minister Cornelius Mwitwa says climate change, poor agricultural practices, lack of mechanization and poor market linkages act together make agriculture unproductive. Mr. Mwitwa said it is against this backdrop that government has enhanced efforts of developing a resilient, competitive and diversified agricultural sector driven by equitable and sustainable agricultural development. The minister outlined the challenges in a speech read on his behalf by Mpemba District Commissioner Obi Habenzu during a sustainable intensification of smallholders farming system project in Zambia, CEFAS, held in Pemba. He said the project is funded by the European Union and implemented by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in partnership with the International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, CIMMYT, and the Ministry of Agriculture. The CEFAS project is implemented in 27 districts and 5 provinces in Zambia.
Southern Province Minister Cornelius Mwitwa says climate change, poor agricultural practices, lack of mechanization and poor market linkages act together to make agriculture unproductive. Mr. Mwitwa said it is against this backdrop that government has enhanced efforts of developing a resilient, competitive and diversified agricultural sector driven by equitable and sustainable agricultural development. The minister outlined the challenges in a speech read on his behalf by Pemba District Commissioner Obey Havenzu during a sustainable intensification of smallholder farming systems project in Zambia, CIFAS, held in Pemba.
We also know for a fact that Southern Province has been the most affected province as far as climate effects are concerned. These effects, combined with other factors that include poor agriculture practices, lack of mechanization, and poor market linkages, act together to make agriculture unproductive.
Mutendere Mpaso is the Chief Technical Advisor for CIFAS project under the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
I take this opportunity to appreciate the efforts that the farmers have put in the program. We have seen this was not an easy season. It has been challenging from the rainfall, but we have seen the amount of work that you have done on the project and the results that we are witnessing.
And Southern Province Agricultural Coordinator Dr. Max Chombe had this to say.
We have seen what we have seen today is because of the collaborative nature we have had with FAO, EU and many other stakeholders.
Reporting, Lawrence Kabutu in Pemba.
The Ministry of Tourism and Arts has called on Zambians to take advantage of opportunities in the tourism sector by providing recreation facilities that are lacking at some tourism sites. Speaking during the launch of Njinga Rides, a Zambian-owned company aimed at providing bicycle rides to Zambia's tourism sites, Ministry of Tourism and Arts Permanent Secretary Mr. Evans Mohanga says many opportunities remain untapped, hence the need for Zambians to think outside the box. The PS has also revealed that the investment pledge in tourism for local people has been reduced from 500,000 United States dollars to 50,000 United States dollars as one way of encouraging locals to invest in the sector.
Zambia boasts of many tourist attractions, from the mighty Victoria Falls and wildlife to handmade crafts. Tourism is in this vein recognized as one of the main contributors to Zambia's gross domestic product GDP alongside copper and agriculture. While many youths in the country are facing a problem of unemployment, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and Arts Mr. Evans Mohanga says many employment opportunities still remain untapped in the tourism sector, such as providing toilet facilities to many of these heritage sites. Speaking during the launch of Njinga Rides, a Zambian-owned company aimed at providing tourist bicycle rides to Zambia's heritage sites, Mr. Mohanga says such initiatives are welcome as they also provide employment opportunities for other citizens.
And the only way we are going to deal with that problem, to solve it, is to ensure that we have more of our people as well to invest in these basically national parks. And you have to see us with the Department of National Parks and Wildlife. There are opportunities with the heritage sites, so that you are given tourism concession agreements, the TCAs in those areas, and as you do your pledge and as you build some of those places, you'll be able to attract a lot of locals to visit those places, because it's not enough just to go and see Lumangwe Falls, Tumbachushi, Kawelume, and all these other beautiful places that are around those areas. But there is nowhere to sleep, there is nowhere to do an excursion, for example, and the journey could be longer. We have also incentives in the budget which people are not taking advantage of. Basically, if you buy vehicles for tourism excursions and safari rides, they are duty-free.
Meanwhile, Njinga Rides acting team leader Mr. Mafeson Mukuka asked that the theme of the launch, which borders on Zambia's first Republican President Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, will also help in keeping the memories of Zambia's founding father alive.
Njinga Rides is cognizant of the numerous times we have heard of Zambia's tourism potential being underexploited, hence taking a step to help achieve this objective of growing the industry. We, however, call for more support from government in supporting ventures like ours that are homegrown. We are not necessarily asking for handouts, but assistance in capacity building and indeed booking rides with us so that we can grow. Further, we call on government and other partners to institutionalize local tourism by adding an aspect of officials working in different parts of the country having paid for visits to various heritage sites. For example, if a team is visiting Livingstone for official work, the companies must be encouraged to pay for their workers to tour the Victoria Falls.
The launch was attended by officials from the government as well as the Road Transport and Safety Agency, RATA. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We'll take our second set of commercials. Coming next is sports and international news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
Welcome back. Getting into international news, the CEO in East Africa of fuel supplier Rubis was expelled from Kenya after days of fuel shortage. On Thursday, the Energy Cabinet Secretary pointed the finger at companies diverting cargo earmarked for local use for export. Rubis assured its efforts were directed to supplying the Kenyan market. Kenyan motorists endured yet another day of major fuel shortages with strict rationing at petrol stations. If the government blamed holding and panic buying for hour-long queues, it pointed the finger at other players on Thursday, namely oil marketers. Here's a roundup of international news.
Kenyan motorists endured yet another day of major fuel shortages with strict rationing at petrol stations. If the government blamed hoarding and panic buying for hours-long queues, on Thursday it pointed the finger at another player, namely oil marketers.
Some players have additionally
been diverting cargo earmarked for local use for export into the region to further enhance abnormal profit. This government will not tolerate any entity or person that is causing distress, either by creating an artificial problem or stress.
The statement by the Energy Cabinet Secretary came a day after the CEO in East Africa of French fuel supplier Ruby was expelled. The company denied increasing its export sales to the detriment of the Kenyan market.
We have decided as government that this is not an acceptable situation and that Kenyans should not be subjected to a situation that we are facing today. In fact, in my mind, this situation can only be equated to deliberate effort to sabotage this economy, which constitutes a capital crime in our statute books. Any entity that is not ready, that is not able, that is not willing to work within the framework of the laws of Kenya is invited to vacate this market promptly.
1 week after the crunch began and despite capped prices, there are fears the fuel crunch could see public service providers jack up the cost of fares. Guinea's former ruling party, the RPG, will no longer take part in the national conference. The party of former President Alpha Condé broke the news late Thursday as it followed through with threats made weeks earlier. To explain its move, the RPG cited the detentions of several party leaders, which it calls arbitrary. The national meetings started in March and are expected to last until April 29. They were presented by the authorities as a platform where political parties, youth groups, women's organizations and traditional leaders could discuss what the country's leader, Colonel Doumbouya, called a new institutional framework. The suspension of the RPG's participation lengthens the list of parties which have boycotted the national conference. In the statement, the party also called out the authorities for intentionally withholding information about the fate of the former president. The 84-year-old recently came back to Guinea after receiving treatment abroad, but it's not free of his movements, according to the RPG. Condé was overthrown in 2021 after a 10-year rule. A coalition that has fought him for months has urged the authorities to open a trial against the former president.
Zimbabwe's Zimbabwe mine operates as any mining firm is expected, with a little twist. Everyone working here is a woman. Located near Karoi, a town 200 kilometers northwest of the capital Harare, Zimbabwe is empowering women in the region.
kushibata chizivo nemahama asi pano pari zvino ndakwanisa kuzviita ndinogara naamwene vangu nemurume wangu nemhuri yangu ndine vana 5 ndandiri munhu ndaitambura vana vangu vaenda kuchikoro asi vaidzingwa asi pari zvino vana vangu havachakwanisa kuita sei kudzingwa.
In Zimbabwe, only 15% of women work as artisanal and small-scale miners. Zimbabwe's all-female workforce dig for the mine's rich deposits of aquamarine, a light blue-hued gemstone. This in return for a stable $300 monthly salary.
The ladies now don't have to wait and hope that the husband brings something. And for the single mothers, there is no better security than a reliable source of income. They can now take care of the children, they can send them to school, they can feed them, and they are now stable financially.
In addition to sourcing the gemstone, the all-female miners are being trained in cutting and polishing, duties typically left to the men to execute. This was the vision of the Zimbabwe founders, bridging the gaps and imbalances within the mining sector.
It was a no-brainer starting a project that only had women. People actually thought no women would actually come and take up the opportunity. One of the things that we do is come up with business models that work. The women have managed to catch up and do even better than what we expected. And I think they'll put men to shame.
With over 60 women contracted to work, Zimbabwe's Zimbabwe mine is the first of its kind in Africa. Nyashake Mutizwa reporting for Africa News, Karoi, Zimbabwe.
We'll now take a look at what we have in our sports news. The Ricketts family-led consortium withdraws offer to buy Premier League club Chelsea. The consortium said it had decided after careful consideration not to submit a final bid for Chelsea. Given the unusual dynamics around the sales process, the Ricketts withdrawal leaves bids led by Todd Polhu, Sir Martin Bruton and Steve Paluca and the race to buy the Blues. The Ricketts family-led consortium that was one of the final 4 shortlisted bidders in running to buy Chelsea. The Ricketts family, who own the Chicago club baseball team, had partners with U.S. billionaire Ken Griffin and Dan Gilbert and were planning to submit a cash bid for Chelsea. However, those plans have now ended, with members of the consortium understood to have been unable to agree on the final makeup of the deal. The Ricketts withdrawal leaves the 3 remaining contenders who all submitted final offers for Chelsea to the Rain Group, the bank handling the sale, and ahead of Thursday's deadline. The bid led by Sir Martin Bruton, the former Liverpool and British Airways chairman, which includes the billionaire Crystal Palace shareholder Dev Blitzer and Josh Harris. A consortium headed by Todd Polhu, the LA Dodgers part owner, which include backing from Clear Tech Capital, a U.S. investment firm. An offer fronted by Steve Paluca, part owner of the NBA's Boston Celtics and Series A's Atlanta, which includes support from Larry Tentbaum, the NBA chairman, and the party is still in the running to buy Chelsea. The Sir Bruton-led consortium submitted their full and final bid to buy Chelsea before the deadline. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. 42-year-old physically challenged man of KANYAMA compound in need of financial support. By-elections, a necessary evil to advance democracy, charges gears. 9 new cholera cases detected as 2,131 people vaccinated with oral cholera vaccine. In international news, Kenya warns oil marketers against reduced imports. And in sports, consortium withdraws offer to buy Chelsea. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Romans 13 verse 7, and it reads, "Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Happy Easter holiday and good evening.